Hi guys, today's video is going to be a DIY on these awesome dip dye shoes. I thought they were a great way to add a pop of color to your shoes, and they're pretty simple to make. So let's get started. A tea kettle or pot to heat the water, salt, fabric dye, I chose purple but you can choose any color, a stainless steel bowl, and white shoes. They don't have to be Vans. First step is to just add water to your tea kettle or pot and heat it up on the stove until it gets nice and hot. Now you're just going to add your hot water to the bowl. If you have a stainless steel sink, you can just use your sink, but I used a bowl just to be precautious. And if you're using a plastic bowl, keep in mind there is a possibility that the dye will stain the bowl and it won't come out. And then you're just going to add 3 tablespoons of salt to the water. You can also use a regular spoon for this if you don't have a measuring spoon. It's basically the same thing. Now you're just going to add a little bit of dye to the water, and you're going to have to keep adding more dye, but make sure you start off with a small amount in the beginning because you don't want to mess it up. And then you're just going to stir all of that together. This next step is highly recommended. You're just going to take a piece of spare white fabric. I just cut up an old t-shirt, and you're going to sit it in the dye for a couple minutes, and this is basically just to give you an idea of what color the dye is going to come out, so you can see if you need to add more fabric dye or if you need to add more water. And you want to do this a couple of times just to make 100% sure, because you don't want to mess up your shoes. Now you're going to add the shoes to the dye, making sure that only the very ends of the shoes are in the dye, and you're going to let them sit for 10 minutes in the dye. Then you are going to add more water, about 2 inches, to the shoes, and you're going to let them sit there for an additional 10 minutes. Now after that 10 minutes has passed, you want to check on the shoes, and as you can see, mine are looking a little light. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit more dye to the water just to make the shoes a little bit darker, because keep in mind they are going to lighten up a lot when you set them out to dry, so you want them to appear a little bit darker than the actual color that you want. So after you add that little bit more of the dye, you're just going to stir that up a little bit. Make sure you're not stirring too hard because you don't want to get the water level too high and cover too much of the shoe, because you only really want the back end of the shoe in the dye. After you let them sit for that last 10 minutes, for about a total of 30 minutes altogether in the dye, the shoes should look a little something like this if you're using the same color as me and trying to achieve like the same color. So you're just going to remove the shoes out of the dye and make sure you kind of dump them out really nicely, because they're going to have a lot of excess dye on them. This is just a clip of the shoes to give you an idea of how much lighter they get once you put them out to dry. I recommend putting them outside to dry so you don't make a mess or get dye on anything in your house. While you're waiting for your shoes to dry, I think this would be a perfect time to clean up. So basically what you're going to do is just dump all of the excess dye down the sink. Make sure to be careful and not fling the dye anywhere else, because you don't want to stain anything. And then you're just going to rinse out the bowl, and you may need to do this several times in order to get all the dye out. Just make sure you're continuously rinsing the bowl until the water runs clean. Now after you've rinsed out the bowl completely, what you're going to do is also make sure that you rinse out your sink, because excess dye may still have stuck on the sink. So you're just going to go around a couple of times and rinse out the sink until the water runs clear, and it's a pretty easy cleanup. After your shoes are all dry, this is what the finished product is going to look like. I hope you guys enjoyed this DIY. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up so I know to do more DIY videos. If you decide to make these, please tweet me a picture or tag me in your pictures on Instagram at Laguna Beach Love. I will have my Twitter and my Instagram linked down below in the description box for you guys. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any DIY requests, you can leave them in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!